Hey, thanks for joining me here, and this is how to get your first speaking gig. And you want to know, if I had 0 gigs and I had nothing on the calendar, this is exactly what I would do immediately and first. My name is Jason Hewlett. I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker and Las Vegas award-winning entertainer. Let's dive in. Okay, so you searched up, this is the exact words you typed, how to get your first speaking gig. I'm gonna say something a little controversial first. It's my own opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Join me in the comments if you hate this or you like it or you agree. Gig, that is a swear word to a lot of speakers. Yeah. Believe it or not. Maybe you've never heard anyone say speaking gig, or maybe you've heard it a lot. Here's the thing. I like to call it speaking gig because I come from the world of entertainment gig, or comedy gig, or acting gig, whereas people within this speaking industry that are speakers full-time, a lot of them find that word insulting. Gig. They say it's a speaking event. Don't call it a gig. That cheapens it. Okay. I've had my arguments with people, but I put this video together because I know you want your first speaking gig. If you want to put in the comments whether you agree with that or not, whether you think that's silly or stupid, I'd love to know. Go ahead, go in the comments, and I will reply with whatever you say. And first, I appreciate you putting that in the comments as to the difference between, whether you care about calling it a gig or an event. But here's the very first thing you need to do before you go after that gig. You have to have a speech. You have to have a message. You have to have something prepared. Don't just come into this thinking, oh, I can just get the gig and then I'll come up with something. No, you have to create some message, something powerful that you want to say. That's the very first, before we begin our number one. The first way to get your first speaking gig is to tell everyone in your network that you're a speaker and you're interested in doing a speaking gig. Here's why. They have no idea that you want to speak, most likely. Unless you've shared it with your friends or your, just the close people around you, you need to tell everybody. Tell your old boss, tell your school teachers, tell your community friends, your church pals, tell everybody. As long as they know you want to speak, then they're gonna say, well, what do you speak on? And you go, oh yeah, Jason told me I need to have a message first. So you need to let everyone know and that you speak and that you're interested in doing so. Now the second way is you can record a video about what you're going to speak on. So let's say you haven't had a gig before. Now you're just going to turn on the camera. I dare you. Turn on the camera, record yourself giving your message. Just do like a 2 to 3 minute synopsis. If you wanted to give a story, try to do it really concise. This is almost like a TED Talk version of an entire speech, but it's going to be 3 minutes or so of you just talking into the video. So press record. Third, I want you to get booked on a podcast. When you get booked on a podcast, people think you're special all of a sudden, and that's a cool thing. Maybe you've got, the speech ready to go and you can share some of those examples. And if you're not sure how to book a podcast, this is all you do. You reach out to the podcast you like listening to and you offer to come on. You ask friends who have been on podcasts how they got on and for an introduction. You do something significant enough that the podcast reaches out to you. Maybe it's because you just did the last one I said, you recorded a video, podcaster finds you, or better yet, you record the video, send it to the podcaster and say, I'd love to be a guest. That's a pretty cool way to get your first speaking gig, because then somebody's going to listen to that podcast and most likely book you for their event. Now, if you can't figure out any podcast opportunities, you can't get anyone to let you on. Nobody will interview you. Okay, that's a bummer, but not a big deal. Number 4, start a podcast. I dare you. That's a hard thing to do. I still, at the time of this recording, have not had my podcast go live yet. I've recorded some, but I have not launched it. Launching a podcast is a great commitment. Did you know that most podcasts fail after the 10th episode because people just run out of things to say or even interest in creating it? But I'd say if you want to get your first speaking gig and get many more, having a podcast, starting it, shows initiative, and it helps you articulate what you're going to talk about at your speaking gigs. Number 5 would be to go live online. So whether that's LinkedIn and, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you choose. LinkedIn is the best place to go live if you want to get speaking gigs that pay really well. Now, if you want to get more charitable opportunities, that's Facebook, because that's where grandma hangs out, right? If you want to get possibly a speech at a school, Instagram. If you want to get speeches possibly everywhere, YouTube. You see what I did there? Go live, be brave, press the button, go for it. And what's cool about that is that I want you to also, if you would, subscribe to this channel, and I want you to find some of the other videos that I've talked about creating your speaking career or becoming a better public speaker or the reason it can help you in your career. I have tons of videos about this, so I hope you'll keep following here. And let's keep going. Number 6, I would advise you to join NSA. And no, I'm not talking about the ones who listen. I'm talking about National Speakers Association. Yeah, they're the talkers for sure. They actually have a local chapter at wherever you live. There's one that's going to be there. And then they also have the National Speakers Association, and they have events every once in a while, which are pretty incredible. Thousands of speakers attend these. You want to join the local chapter, and this is why. Because when you start to associate with other speakers, you'll start to meet people who are possibly just like you, trying to get the first gig or just in their first few. Now you can align with them, mastermind, create kind of a referral group option. It's kind of cool to hang out with people who are just getting into the industry like you. And the NSA is so supportive, they're helpful, they give you so many ideas. They bring in some of the best speakers in the world to your chapter. So go join NSA now. I'd also talk about with NSA, I forgot to say, don't just join it, offer to serve. If you're willing to serve and show up early, set up the chairs, get the mics ready, you're gonna meet the famous speakers they bring in. You see what I did there? It's pretty interesting. You're bringing in the treats and you're bringing everything in to be helpful. That's a fast track. The fast track to getting gigs as a speaker is literally serving and giving first. I hope that helps. So before I go into the rest of these great points we've got here, I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you'll also subscribe to this channel, because really that's so much of what I speak about, is how to help you be successful in your speaking career, whether it's creating the speech, creating the career, putting an outline together, even having notes on stage, things that are very interesting. You'll love it. I hope you'll subscribe. So the 7th way is to offer to speak at events you're already attending. That may seem so obvious, but most people don't even think about it, even when I've mentioned it to them. They're like, oh yeah, I am going to this conference and I didn't offer to speak. Well, maybe the event planner doesn't want people to offer to speak, but you never know until you ask. And the first gigs that I ever got were when I offered to speak for something that nobody realized they needed a speaker for. For example, my very, very first presentation on a stage was June 30th, 2000. And yeah, my cousin was the queen, and she was handing over the crown to the next queen, so she was in charge of the event. This was in a place called Camas, Utah, which is a very small town. And it was at the high school, and I was so excited because I asked her, hey, could I come and perform at your beauty pageant? And she was like, I think I'm in charge of choosing who gets to do things here. Let me ask. And so they gave me 5 minutes on stage for my first real opportunity on stage. I was performing more than speaking at that one. But that was what led me to realize what I'm teaching you now, is that I offered to do something for them that they didn't know they needed until they then realized, oh yeah, we need someone in the judging to stretch the time, and they needed somebody to entertain. So I did 5 minutes. I killed it. And then I looked over, I thought I was done. They said, stretch, they need me to do more time. So I did another 5 minutes. It was a great thing. It launched my career because I did exactly what I'm telling you to do. I was going to attend that event anyway because my cousin was the queen. And then there's been other events, things like Cub Scouts. I used to go to the Cub Scout event at my community. And so I would say, hey, can I come and speak about some of these things the kids are doing and learning? And they were like, sure, I guess. So I went in and I gave a fun, interesting speech. The kids laughed, the parents laughed. That began things for me. I'm only giving you these ideas because these have helped me to get my career rolling. These are exactly what I would do if I was sitting there thinking, how do I get my first speech? How do I get my first gig? Just go offer to speak at the places you're already going to. Number 8 would be to sponsor an event. If you are, let's say, a business owner, or you belong to a business that could benefit an event that's already being had, and you would be attending it anyway, why don't you offer to sponsor it? Now, what happens when you sponsor an event, a majority of the time, is they'll give you time to speak about your reason for sponsoring, or about your product. They'll give you 5-10 minutes depending on the event. Sometimes they'll forget that they want you to do that. sometimes you need to make sure they know that's one of the reasons you sponsored the event. But if you're a business owner and you're trying to figure out how do I get my first speaking gig, well, just go sponsor an event. Number 9 on how to get your first speaking gig, I would say hunt down your favorite speakers and then go do whatever they need from you. I mean, here's the thing. Guys come in all the time for conventions. They're flying in from all over the place. Some are very famous and some are on a different level. When you join NSA, the National Speakers Association, you can then befriend these people and find out when and where they'll be. If you have somebody that you really like and you're like, hey, I want to learn from that speaker, all you have to do is befriend them on social media. A majority of them are just running their own social media. You can then ask, when are you coming to town? How can I serve you? How can I help you? I've shared this in other videos. This works for people that are comedians, performers, musicians, bands. Really works for speakers because here's the thing. Speaking community is tight. Speakers want to help speakers. And we believe that the pie is big enough for everybody. And so I promise you, if you're willing to reach out to somebody you admire and you say, I will schlep your bags, I will open the books and have you sign them, I will video record you, I'll go get testimonials after your speech, they will love you forever, and guess what? Very likely it will lead to them then becoming your friend, referring you for a gig, and it could be the very first gig you get. Number 10, write a book. That may sound daunting. But guess what? If you write a book, somebody's going to want you to come and speak, especially if it's a book that really profoundly impacts their life. It could certainly be a white paper, a PDF form, or something that you just give away. You could even write a book and self-publish it and then use it as a business card. But when you do something that significant with some cool things to say in a book, give those to the right people. That will lead to you speaking at an event. I remember when I first put my book together, I went and handed it to all the business owners that I knew, and I said, I want to give a copy to everyone in your company if you'd like, but I'd like to come speak as well. And then they would say, no, don't give us the books, we'll buy them, we'll pay you to come speak. And then I'd say, well, when would you like me? Instead of waiting for a huge event, they'd say, well, Monday morning we have our trainings, and why don't you come do that? That's a cool way to start your career real fast. And then here's a bonus idea. If you're still trying to figure out, okay, I've done all those things Jason's talked about and you're like, I still can't make this happen. Okay, trying to get your first speaking gig, here's what you do. You put one together yourself. You put your own retreat, mastermind, your own event together. You know, find a church that's open, find a building that's cheap to rent, you choose. You could even have it at somebody's house, and then you invite people to come and listen to you speak. I've seen people do this through the years, and they're actually way more financially successful than even me, and I've been on bigger stages than they could even dream of, but because they started out by doing retreats, masterminds, putting events together in small pockets of friends, and inviting other people in, it changed everything for their careers. And so I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you'll also subscribe to this channel and check out all the other amazing videos that will help you not only get your first speaking gig, but also all the gigs that are going to come from after that, because you need to now refine your speech. You need to practice. You have a lot of things going on. Protect your voice. The videos are here on this channel. I'm Jason Hewlett, Hall of Fame keynote speaker. See you next time.